All right. Welcome to Career Day 2024. This is the Ask Us Anything session. And we know it's 4 o'clock. People are trickling in. And while we are, I'm going to turn on this music here. Feel free to mute it on your end. But please add any of your questions in the chat. Go ahead and add those in. Going to give it a few minutes for everybody to collect those and add them into our chat. We got about 1 more minute to add those questions in before we get started. Welcome, everyone. We see some great ones coming in already. All right, so let's get started. And just a heads up, I do have two screens. So if you see me going back and forth, there's a little bit of technical aspect to this with gathering all those questions and making sure that we are here and able to address them. So hello and welcome everyone to SNHU Career Day 2024. This is our free virtual conference open to students, alumni, faculty, and staff from anywhere around the globe. We are thrilled to have such a diverse audience with us today. I'm Lauren Stahl, your co-presenter. We also have Shaprice Pennington Willis as a presenter for this session, and I want to ensure that your experience here is as smooth and as enriching as possible. Before we dive into the exciting content lined up for today, take a moment to familiarize yourself with our virtual platform Teams, the same one we've been using all day. If you've gone to any other sessions, you'll find features like live captioning, various written language options for slides, the ability to move through slides at your own pace should you wish, and the chat box, which you can open by selecting the icon at the top of your screen. In the chat box, we've included instructions for using the Teams features mentioned, and we also have Fern Ruby Redford as our chat box moderator. Now over to Shaprice.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So, good news. The sessions will be recorded and you'll have access to them post-conference on YouTube. When the recordings are ready to the links, you will be sent to you via email. So if you've missed something or you want to revisit a session, you can do so at your own pace. It's also important to remember that due to the sessions being recorded, there is no obligation to have your camera on at any time or to use the chat. Let's create a respectful and inclusive space for everyone. I trust that each of you will contribute to maintaining a positive environment throughout the session. Be mindful of your language and interactions. Do not share any offensive or highly personal content, and do not photograph, screenshot, or take personal recordings. If you encounter any technical issues or need support during the conference, don't hesitate to reach out to the IT service desk. After Career Day, we'll share session recordings via email in addition to a survey. Your feedback is crucial to us, so please keep an eye out for this email follow-up after the event. Let us know how we can continue improving for future events. At SNHU, creating an inclusive and accessible learning environment is a priority. Your experience is crucial, and if you require accommodations, please reach out to the respective centers. Online students, oac@snhu.edu or call 866-305-9430. Campus students, cac@snhu.edu or call 603-644-3118. SNHU staff and faculty, hr@snhu.edu. With that, we've covered the essentials for a smooth and engaging conference experience. Thank you for joining us and Ask Us Anything. Get ready to be inspired, learn, and connect. Back to you, Lauren.
All
Well, actually,
right.
I'm going to keep it to me. I'm sorry about that. So, just so you can know a little bit about us. Lauren Stahl started her career in higher education at Southern New Hampshire University in 2013 and has served as a career advisor for more than 8 years. Lauren graduated from Southern New Hampshire University with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and a Master of Business Administration. Lauren strives to provide exceptional education, support in every interaction, offering relevant and helpful resources to students and graduates.
All right. Now, a little bit about Shaprice. Shaprice started, oh, where did our presentation go? One moment. Let's try that again. Present. Okay. Can everybody see our screens here? I see some head nods. All right. Awesome. So Shaprice started at SNHU as an admissions counselor in 2019. Shaprice then moved to the Career Services Department as a career advisor in 2021. In January 2020, while working at SNHU, Shaprice decided to go back to school and earn her Master's of Science in Organizational Leadership and a certificate in Human Resource Management. In 2021, Shaprice loves life, laughing, and helping people and her students to be the best version of themselves each day. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to our panelists. That is who we are here to really see. These are our subject matter experts. Let's start with Grace. Grace, can you give us a wave? There's Grace. So Grace Dugan is a career advisor based in southwestern New Hampshire. She has 7 years of experience working with job seekers on their career goals and has specialized in working with military affiliated job seekers and people with backgrounds in the liberal arts, healthcare, and business. Grace is an advocate for better career services and business practices for disabled job seekers. Everybody see those reacts up there? Let's give Grace some applause, some thumbs up, some smiles, some hearts as we meet Grace here today. Nice. All right. Now, Tori, can you give us a wave? There's Tori. So she's been a part of the SNHU career team for 7 years, advising students in various academic programs, but specifically STEM. She is also a yoga and mindfulness instructor. If you were able to go to her session today, you saw that in practice. And she's been practicing for over 8 years. She truly enjoys bringing her perspective of learning how to manage stress and being a mindful human into her day today while working with her students and colleagues. All right, how about Tori? Let's give her some reaction, some love, some thumbs up. Yes, we love it. Okay. Now we're moving on to Mr. Rich Grant. Can you give us a wave, Rich? Here's Rich. He is a business career advisor based in Southern Maine and has been part of the SNHU Career Services team since July 2014. He began his career at LL Bean and transitioned to higher education in 2004 as a graduate school academic director at the University of Maine. Let's show some love for Rich. Love it. They said you rock, Rich. Did you see that in the comments? There you go. Nice. Now, Miss Jennifer Vincent joined SNHU Career in September 2015. Give us a wave. Her professional experience includes 15 years in career advising and student services in higher education. She earned her BS in marketing with a minor in advertising from Florida Gulf Coast University, as well as a master's of business administration from Nova Southeastern University. Jen truly enjoys going to work every day and wants her students to have the same opportunity. She currently works remotely from sunny, I'm assuming, Fort Lauderdale. How about some love for Miss JV? Yes, we love it. Love to see it. Now, Miss Beth, you give us a wave too. There she is. Beth Leopold is a career advisor too at Southern New Hampshire University. Has been here for 5 years, beginning her career in academic advising, supporting learners in the College for America program, then transitioning to career services 2 years ago. As a career advisor, she works with all learners, but is aligned with the social science vertical. Last shout out, give some love to Miss Beth Leopold, our social science and education panelist. All right, we love it. Now we're going to tell you just a little bit about us, and then we're going to jump into the questions. So, who is SNHU Career? We offer free services to both our students and alumni, and here are some things that we offer. So, career exploration, we can help with goal setting, industry stats, professional document reviews, interview preparation, networking techniques, and more. We also host career events. Oh, look where we are today. Attend an in-person or online career fair and interact with professionals during employer spotlights. Employer, alumni, and relations view our job board and network with employers throughout the country. Also, experiential learning, gain relevant experience through fieldwork, projects, and internships. Then finally, we have networking. Connect with SNHU students and alumni, find or become a mentor, learn to use social media to your advantage. Now I am passing it on to Ms. Shaprice.
Thanks again. So, where can students and alumni access career resources? You want to click the hamburger menu on the top of the left-hand corner of your My SNHU homepage to find a link to the Career Services page. Very easy. All right, so let's get started. We've got a great lineup today, and we have tons of questions in the chat. So I've got the first one, and this is going to you, Grace. I know we've talked a lot about a lot of things all day, but the question is, how many years of experience should be included on a resume?
That's a really great question. And the answer is it does depend a little bit on the specific goal and the type of resume also. I would say a rule of thumb that I usually share is for civilian resumes. About 10 years is usually the amount of experience that they want to see, what you've been doing over the past decade or so. If you are going for a federal opportunity, if you're applying through USA Jobs for a federal job, that will look a little different. So on that type of resume, you want to go probably all the way back to the first job that you had. They're pretty comprehensive with federal resumes, but for most civilian jobs, about 10 years is a good amount to include.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That is really great distinction between the two because we never know what types of jobs people are applying for. So wonderful. All right, we have another question, and this one is actually directed to Tori. So, Tori, how do you recommend connecting with professionals, aka networking tips?
Amazing question. So usually I recommend starting small and then kind of expanding outwards, right? So starting small, meaning start with your friends, your family, your support system, right? And even if they have nothing to do with the field of your interest or the jobs you're applying to, you never know who they know, right? And it's important for them to understand your goals. So that way, in case they do ever meet someone they could connect you with, then that discussion has already been had, right? Then you can always utilize platforms such as LinkedIn and Handshake. And those two platforms make it really easy and super fun to network with a lot of people. So especially alumni, right? There's direct ways to find alumni on both LinkedIn and Handshake. People that have graduated from Southern New Hampshire that are also in roles that you're interested in or that have graduated with the same degree as you. So then you would find a group of like-minded individuals that also you have something in common with. Makes it a little bit easier than just doing a cold outreach, right? Another strategy that I'll quickly go over is if you have a list of companies that you're interested in, either whether it's you working there or just learning more about, write that down and then start to do some research on the company. Find them on LinkedIn, find them on Handshake, find people in the department that you're interested in learning more from, and just send them a message, right? Usually I say you want to, in your message, you want to introduce yourself, you want to let them know why you're reaching out. So this can be where you incorporate some of your goals of what you're looking to do with your career, and then give them a call to action. So a simple, hey, can I have 5 or 10 minutes of your time? Or would you be able to answer a couple of my questions? And please reach out to us so we can expand this conversation.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tori. I like what you said with regard to one, giving names to different places and platforms people can use. Once you know where to go, then you can put yourself there, know who to find out, and love that follow-up too. Excellent. I'm going to take it back over to Lauren. You should have some more questions coming in the chat as well.
I do. This question is for Rich. Let me read it off to you, Rich. Do you have any advice for those of us who are newer to the work field? I am 22 and have some volunteer work, certifications, and now my degree under my belt. But for those of us with less job experience, what should we include on our resume?
Yeah, thank you. And I know that came from Savannah, because actually, Savannah, I clicked on your LinkedIn profile and I see you have the HubSpot social media certification. I think anything that you can do, and earlier today, can't remember which session we were talking about. I think it was Angie's session about different competitions, different ways that you can build experience. Being in fashion merchandising. In fact, I know of a fashion merchandising student from a previous college who put together what looked like a magazine to demonstrate her design skills. And I think employers were duly impressed by that. So it's really showing that you have the knowledge, skills, that in your case, if you're a design fashion person, showing that design skill. And then just highlighting what you can on the resume. Another tip is, and this would go for anyone who doesn't have work experience directly related to what you want to do, let's say in fashion, or maybe it's accounting, is underneath your degree to put knowledge and skills developed include, and don't list the courses, but list what do you know from those courses. So that's my suggestion.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich. Shaprice, you got us another question?
I do. And this one I'm going to give to JV. This is a really good one. I'm having surgery in 2 months, but I am finally getting interviews for positions. I applied 4 months ago. Do I tell the employer if they offer me a position?
Well, congrats on landing these interviews. This is a kind of tough question here because it's all about your personal decision whether you want to disclose or not. Of course, there are some legal things that will help you, I guess, with discrimination, but I would just check in with your state laws just to make sure. But I would actually recommend disclosing the information because of, like, say, for instance, timing. Will this recovery time affect your start date? A couple other things to consider is how will impact your work performance. Will you need any special accommodations? So those are some of the things I would consider when you're accepting the job offer, whether you want to disclose it to the employer or not.
Excellent. Thank you.
Lisa Priest, can I just add something in there? Remember,
Absolutely.
in the interview process, you don't necessarily have to include that information or disclose that in many cases because you haven't been made an offer yet. When you get into that offer phase, when you get into the latter part, that's when you should take JV's suggestions and contemplate that. Talk with the HR person if you feel comfortable with that, and after you've done those other necessary steps with that. But in the interview process, if it's not going to affect that interview process, I would say business as usual, unless there are extenuating circumstances.
Excellent. Thank you for that add-in.
Awesome. And Beth, actually, the next question is for you. If an employer says they want 2 years teaching experience, will mentoring and training teams count?
It can, because again, you're talking about skill sets. Now, if they are looking for specific types of teaching experience, classroom teaching experience, skill set teaching experience, that'll be up to the employer to decide whether or not that qualifies. And you could clarify that during the initial process. But again, you're looking at the skill sets. You've done some training, you've done some, presentation work, perhaps developed curriculum. So you want to align those skills with what you have done with what they're looking for. Does it have to be specific and spot on? That'll be up for the employer to decide in some cases. Sometimes we see job postings that they use the same one for all levels that they're looking for. I sometimes let learners know that when I'm working with them, it's not your job to say whether you're qualified or not. What your job is to present your skills as best you can that align with those job descriptions, and let the people that are doing the hiring make the qualification call. They often may have a team of full senior teachers and they're looking to bring someone new on. So they have that ability to say, hey, she doesn't have exactly what we're looking for, but we've got the room to do the mentoring and such. If they have a full junior team, then that may disqualify you. But again, that goes back to the employer saying whether or not you're qualified or not. Present yourself, the skills, align those skills, tailor your resume to the best of your ability to those jobs.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, Grace, back to you. Have a question here that's a really good one as well. Should we have both associate and bachelor degree listed in our resume? I'm about to have my associates, but I also am enrolled in my bachelor's degree.
That's a great question, definitely. So anytime you're thinking about what to include or not include on your resume, my rule of thumb that I share is really think about what is most relevant to the job that you're applying for. So to answer your specific question, if your associate's degree is relevant, if it taught you specific skills, or if it shows, educational experience that covers a certain period of time, maybe when you weren't working, or if it is related in some way to the job, absolutely you should include it on your resume, even if you are going to be working for another degree moving forward. It can still be really beneficial. If it isn't relevant, if it's in a completely different subject area, or you don't need it to cover like a gap on your resume, you don't necessarily need to include it, and you don't want to include irrelevant things on your resume because really you're making the case for that specific job. So
Hey, add on just
Awesome.
one quick thing on that. I'm business career advisor, and sometimes what I'll see is an associate's in accounting, then a bachelor's in accounting. And at some point, you can drop the associates since you have the bachelor's, because it's the pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to think of your resume as prime real estate. You want to make sure that you're really using those spaces and in a way that is, like you said, relevant and makes the most sense for what you're pursuing. So we actually have a question next for Miss Tori. Will experience being enrolled in a bachelor's program substitute for having a bachelor's degree?
And so saying that they didn't graduate, that they just took some courses, am I hearing that correctly?
I think so.
Okay,
We could maybe assume.
that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, any courses that you completed, right? Like if there are skills and things that you have learned that you could put on your resume where you don't have to necessarily label it as a degree, right? Because we typically don't recommend putting a degree on the resume if you didn't complete it. But there are other things you can do within your coursework that you can list on your resume, with whether it's leadership skills or softer skills, right? Like soft skills are very important, and I think a lot of people tend to go right for the technical skills and want to list as many of those as possible, but we don't want to ignore the soft skills because employers can't teach soft skills as much as they can teach technical skills. Did anyone else want to jump in on that one?
Experience does count. It does, just because you're getting a new degree does not mean all of the life experience, work experience, volunteer experience goes away. It's really, it goes back to what we've all been saying, is really look at those skills, not the tasks you've been doing in your prior experience, but the skills, communication skills, interpersonal skills, problem solving skills. They can change from industry to industry. You'll find that in many companies, in many organizations, they want those softer skills. They'll teach you their product, they'll teach you their system, they'll teach you how they want you to do it. What they cannot teach is your ability to work with others,
Right.
facilitate,
Yeah.
collaborate. So always keep that in mind and tailor your resume to that job based on the skills that you've used and the accomplishments you've had. And now you're enhancing those skills with your bachelor's degree.
Thanks, Beth.
Love that. Love that. All right, Rich, you're up next. So, question is, should I omit my master's degree if the requirement is a bachelor's degree?
Sometimes, yes. In some cases, if ultimately you need the master's degree, I can think of being a CPA as one example, that you would want to indicate getting the master's in accounting, expected completion date, whatever it is, so that employer can see that you're on the CPA track. But in a lot of cases, it could potentially hurt you in a job search to, and I know there's a question about being overqualified, which I'd love to tackle as well because I've lived that before. But anyway, sometimes having a master's degree on your resume could make you look overqualified when in fact you're underqualified. I've worked with students in that case. So I would generally leave it off unless it's something that could potentially help you. Again, accounting, CPA is one example.
Awesome. So with that, Rich, do you want me to read that overqualification and we can go ahead and tackle that question if you have more to
Sure, and
expand there?
I'll try to be
Okay.
brief on that. I know there were two questions, one from Joe and then the earlier one. So go for it.
Yeah, so the one that I see here is also as a previous comment about overqualified. I have been denied a job for being overqualified and underqualified. How am I supposed to land a job that I want to do if I have no experience or can't get a job because I have too much experience?
Yeah, and I think that was the one from Joe, and there was an earlier one very similar about the situation with being overqualified. And The reason why I said I live that, and I mentioned that in my 11 o'clock session, that when I left LL Bean, and I was trying to get into new areas, making career changes, and take writing, for example, that was one thing I was looking at. I was not really qualified because I had never been a writer, but yet I was looked at as overqualified. I was 48 years old. So sometimes overqualified can mean you're too old for what we're looking for in this role. And I remember there was one job I found out later that one of the students that I knew from the University of Maine, that when I worked up there, actually got the job. She was about 28, and I was probably a little bit older at that point. And it was like, okay, well, they wanted a 28-year-old. So sometimes that's the case. The reason why I want to answer this question too is, as I was looking at writing, I applied to a bank. It was internal communications coordinator. Didn't pay a lot. And on my resume, I had things like senior analyst at LL Bean and director of graduate programs at a university. And I found out that I'd gotten screened out. And actually, the way I found out was I got the hiring manager on the phone. So tap into your network. What I did is I went on LinkedIn, found I had a connection that knew this hiring manager. So he gave me the phone number of the hiring manager, and he remembered me. He said, I got 250 resumes for this position. I remember you. I put you in the no pile. And he mentioned this issue of overqualified. And by the way, you oftentimes don't know that you're being screened out for being overqualified. To make a long story short, I talked my way into the interview. I said, because I knew in a way I was underqualified, but he was probably thinking, oh, you've had these high paying jobs, which wasn't necessarily the case, but thinking, oh, you won't be happy with whatever it was, $50,000. And at that point, it's like, I want to be a writer. So try to get the hiring manager, try to get referred through your network, work your way into the interviews through the people you know.
Can I?
What a great story. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, Tori.
Yes, because I worked with a learner who dealt with the same thing, and her situation was that she owned her own web development company, and she kept getting denied for all these jobs that she felt she was a really good fit for. And we were taking a look at her resume, and on her resume for her most recent experience, it said CEO and operator. And when we broke it down, I said, listen, I don't want to take away from the fact that you're the owner of this business, but this could be coming across as overqualified or a little too intimidating. So we did, at the end of the day, what did she do? She was a web developer, right? So we just simply changed her job title to web developer, and she started getting callbacks right away. So it's kind of just, looking at how you're also presenting yourself on your resume for the role.
Cover letters can be a really great way of also explaining your job change situation, indicating that you recognize that you have a lot of experience, but you are looking to engage in a new environment or career.
Love those. Those are all really great. And again, I love these sessions because I'm learning something new as well. So we have another question, and Jennifer, this is going to you. Should I inform potential employers of a disability? What is the appropriate protocol moving forward? Kind of piggybacking off of the other one we talked about.
Yeah, it would still be the same. Again, you're not required to disclose. However, again, you have legal protections. And like Beth said, continue to move about the same way that you normally would. It's up to you whether you want to disclose at the time of the job offer.
Thank you.
No problem. I'd be happy to answer the next question too, since we already piggybacked on the disability portion.
Okay.
All right. So the next one is, I'm 36 and received my associate back in 2010. Now getting my bachelor's 14 years ago. Most of my jobs that relate to my field of study goes back to 2010, and I have had many different jobs since then. Should I be listing all these different jobs on my resume? And how do I focus on my managerial role back then?
So typically, a resume goes back no further than 10 to 15 years of experience. However, there are some ways where you can highlight your managerial experience. You can break it up into sections where you can put the relevant information or your relevant experience at the top. And in the skills section, I would also highlight those transferable skills. So a lot of my colleagues have stressed the importance of tailoring your resume to these job leads, and there's a reason for that. So when you're applying online, a lot of these applications run through an applicant tracking system, right? So what it does, it gauges your resume and the job description itself. So if it has a low match rate, then you get the less likely that someone will actually view your resume. So tailoring the resume actually brings more eyeballs to your resume, which then in turns hopefully will get you more callbacks. So again, not every resume when you apply should look the same. It should look different. And what Beth also said too, there is an importance of actually creating a cover letter. So in that cover letter, I would just highlight that old experience so that way it could show that you have relevant experience in the field. Great question.
Excellent. All right, so we have one that says, and this is for you, Beth, this may be off topic, but what is the best way to handle someone who isn't your manager trying to micromanage?
Again, our colleagues, are an integral part of our jobs. It's important to reflect, thank you for your feedback. I'm working on this project perhaps with my manager. Maybe the three of us can come together and you can share your feedback with us in regards to that. Again, burning bridges, you want to be careful of the nasty that, our knee-jerk reaction is to be like, hey, talk to the hand, you ain't my boss. However, that person may become your boss at some point, or you may have to work integrally with that person. So, handling yourself with decorum. Thank you for that feedback. I do appreciate that, but I'm working closely and I have an agenda that we are working with this team. Would love your input. Perhaps I can have my team lead, my manager, include you in our conversation. You seem to have an interesting part of that, or encourage them to go talk to the hiring manager or the manager for that capacity. With that, I think a key piece is to just remain calm, keep things on an appropriate level. If it does become like a harassment type of thing, then you go and you work with your manager, your team lead, say, I'm having some challenges working with this individual, seems to be giving me a lot of unwarranted feedback, kind of handled it my way. What would you suggest?
Excellent. I love that. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, Grace, we have more of a liberal arts question here. For someone looking for creative opportunities such as music, art, or writing, how do you suggest they market themselves if they have the skills, but their resume/jobs do not reflect what the opportunities they are looking for?
That's such a good question, and I get this question all the time. So thank you for bringing up in this forum where many people can hear the answer at once. So there's a lot of ways you could do this. I think for creative professions in particular, employers really want to see that you can do the thing that they would be hiring you to do, like the creative thing. So what's good about that is you don't necessarily have to have done that in a workplace, but they want to see examples of you having done the thing. So I think building a portfolio that includes maybe examples from school of assignments that you did that would be relevant, or even building examples like outside of school, on your own time, especially if it's like a particular kind of role that you're going for that's looking for like a type of writing or a type of creative work that you haven't done before. Building that experience and then sharing that is really beneficial. One other thing I would recommend, you can do this in like a bunch of different ways, but something I've seen work well for people is actually volunteering and offering their creative skills to local small businesses or to like friends and family who run businesses or even like nonprofit groups in the area. And then that is experience that you could put right on your resume. It would be considered professional experience even if it was unpaid, because you're building that professional relationship and you're working with like a third party. And so you could kind of list it that way. But do it as a volunteer opportunity. And that way, sometimes you can get your foot in the door a little bit easier to do that. I hope that makes sense.
I'll piggyback off that, Grace, because I love what you just said. 'Cause my husband and I own a restaurant, and we've had friends and family who have been in different programs. One that I'm thinking of was in marketing, and they were able to collaborate with us and do some different types of promotions and different things that we were interested in, like game nights and things like that. And it was to help them enhance their skills and different things. They didn't have a lot of experience in the field yet. We were happy to do that for them. So thank you for saying that.
One more thing I have to add too. I do believe that creative majors should get creative by using social media. I've had students in the past that were like fashion merchandising people and they didn't have experience in the field, but they actually posted every day how they dressed or how they dressed someone, how they dressed a mannequin. You can also use social media to find jobs that way as well too. Some people have actually created geo filters where they would create seeking work with Macy's. So great, get creative with social media as well too.
These were all fantastic response. Like, I'm excited. I want to do something. That was really, really good. Thank you, ladies. I think we have time for one more, maybe, depending on how we get through it. So, question for anyone who wants to take this one. How do you present a dual career on LinkedIn? Do you have any resources that can help with this?
I know Rich wants to take a stab.
Well,
But
I just want clarification. If
I
you
got
put it in the chat, like dual career, in other words, do you have two jobs currently, or is it more dual? Like for me, I was looking for writing and I was looking for jobs in higher education, but yet I had one LinkedIn. Or is it you're saying you have two jobs? Yeah,
An
LinkedIn's tough.
SNHU instructor and an
Yes.
artist.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So instructor
I think,
and an
yeah,
artist, I believe.
and
Yes.
I'll just try to answer real quickly so others can answer too. I mean, I would put both of them. I think part of it is what's your aspiration? Like, do you want to become more of an instructor and really focusing your summary statement on that? But I think, be putting both things in there, or if it's artist on LinkedIn, it's kind of like an online resume, but it's also a portfolio. You can upload, images, sound files, video, just, as an artist, show that artistry. Earlier, I put in the chat box, show, don't tell. I think it was when Jen was talking, you got to show what you can do, not just say, hey, I'm a great artist. I can do art, but really showing that.
And I think in today's world, a lot of employees are working multiple jobs. It's not uncommon now for individuals to have separate career paths. They don't have to be exclusive. You can absolutely marry the two. And as an instructor and an artist, absolutely, I would recommend representing those on your LinkedIn.
So
LinkedIn.
my
Go ahead, Tori.
example, so I'm a yoga instructor and a career advisor here at SNHU, and I do have both on my LinkedIn. I would say I have a little bit more on the higher education front than I do being a yoga instructor, and that's just because right now in my life, this is more my focus. But it's not to say that that isn't part of my career or passion as well. But our colleague Dana brought up a really good point too, that recruiters search by keywords, right? So like Rich said, depending on your aspirations and whether you want to become more of an instructor, more of an artist, making sure that you have those keywords that relate to whichever field you're looking to grow in.
I think on LinkedIn, you also have the ability to convey a little more personal message than, let's say, on a professional summary or a profile that you have on your resume, which should be more tailored to that job that you're looking for. So when you think about doing your About Me section or your taglines, think about, a multidimensional professional. Get creative with how you're presenting yourself, but leaning in on that one area that you may want to focus on. Like Tori was saying, right now, higher education is where she's focusing, but she's a multidimensional human who's got a lot of great creative outlets as well, and that are relevant to maybe what she wants to present herself out there on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, with that, we are at 1 minute. As of now, it's 4:44, and we would like to say thank you, Shaprice. Thank you to our panelists, and also this is the last session of Career Day 2024. And there was a lot of support from colleagues you didn't see today. So let's do some of those reactions and just say thank you to everyone that had any touch on today. And thank you to our guests. Thank you so much for coming. You make this possible. We are so thankful to be here and to be able to assist you.
Appreciate you all. Wonderful job. Excellent answers from our panelists and great questions from our guests. Thank you so much, everyone.
Just wanted to say beautiful close to Career Day 2024. Well done, everybody.
That was epic. That was so good. What a great day. Have a good one. Go take a nap, everybody.